It's almost here. I believe it's almost. Come on, let me sing.
Welcome to Plan to Prosper, your TV show that is helping entrepreneurs, business owners, 9 to 5 make a difference. Our faith-based, growing and thriving. We are here on Roku TV, SIBN Network. We are in 174 countries, all 50 states. I am Sharon Campbell, your host for today. Are you ready to grow and prosper in 2021 to 2024? We are taking 4 years by the heart, ring and pulling us into there. You do not know all that we have in store for you. And I'm going to tell you, if you're an entrepreneur and business owner, you can grow and thrive. You can do so much on the global market. And it is an honor and a blessing to have great partners with SIBN Network, Roku TV, that is placing all of this information on the global market so that you can become on the global market. We will have a great presentation for you today. So as we use our next slide, we are going to dive deep and dive in, because our today presentation is about setting realistic goals around self-education. I know you are saying, what are you talking about? Do I have to learn something else? Another class, another workshop, another. But you know what? When you educate yourself, you open up the world of knowledge. When you continue reading and thriving and finding out what is out there and the best tools, that is when you see your company grow. If you want to move your company to a platform where you can include retirement, a legacy for your family, you want to go away and sell it, you have to invest in self-education. And so that is the goal we're going to talk to today. And on our next slide, we're going to dig deeper into developing that self-education. Setting realistic goals is always a challenge when it comes to self-education, because what we are asking is, what else do I need to read? Where am I going to find the time, the energy? I could just Google it and just change a little words on it, but it's not like that. It's a little bit more than using Google. It's a little bit more than taking a topic and turning it around and making an ebook. It's a little bit more about your worth and having a conversation with others. And whenever we think about why is it that so many people say, you could become a millionaire. Have you really studied what it takes to be a millionaire? Do you know what it is that they do? Well, guess what? I have an opportunity to do that. I took the opportunity to really read and study how do people become millionaires and multi-millionaires, and how do they spend their time? What do they read? What are the strategies they look at? And a lot of times we think, well, we don't have time to read. Yes, you do. I had the opportunity to read Steve Jobs' book. And yes, it's close to 600 pages, but it was a great find. To enter the mind of Apple, to see how it started, to understand his mindset of what success needs to look like, to study Warren Buffett, Oprah, Jay-Z, 50 Cent, all of those had a mindset of, how do I educate myself to attain the knowledge to grow my company on a global market? And we will continue digging deep on each slide. And for our next slide, we're going to look at the self-education components, ask some tough questions, and come up with, at the end, what it is you need to do and how we can help you at Plan to Prosper. You can reach us at Plan to Prosper website at plantoprospershow.com or thesharoncampbell.com. We have 5 top steps to success we want to talk about in order for you to dig deep into reading. Now, for me, I love the hardback books. I like to highlight, bend the page back, write on the page. I'm a book person. Someone like audio, where they download it, they listen to it, and then they take notes that way. The most important thing I could tell you, find what you're comfortable with and use that over and over again. Or you can use a mixture of it depending on what it is that you like to read. But there are 5 components, 5 that you must have. You must determine what you would like to learn. Sometimes we have to figure out what is it we need to learn to grow our companies in order for it to grow and thrive. And then we need to prioritize that list. Do you like self-help books? Do you like history books? Do you want to talk about wealth building? Do you want to read about biography of people that move out of poverty into middle screen, into having wealth? And sometimes we look at the famous people, but if you look around, there are some millionaires right around you that sit sometime in the church with you. There's some large companies, small-owned companies that really have millionaires that head of these companies. And so you need to find what are they reading, and then how will you craft a list for yourself. And sometimes that may mean reading things that you're not interested in, but if you open up your mind and if you open up your opportunities to learning, you will find out that where it may start out not being the best or boring, it may become one of your best reads. I have read some books 2 or 3 times because once I read them, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm in this situation, and I remember something in that book talked about this. So let me reread that book. The third is determine the time you have each week to dedicate to self-education. Through our videos that we've been talking about is working on your company as well as in your company. And so often we spend too much time working every day in the company that we don't spend the time working on the business. So through doing self-education, that's the time that you're reading, you're thinking about how to market that. And so let's take an idea about marketing. Well, if you want to learn how to market, how about picking a book on marketing? Not that you have to take a class, but learn how other companies is marketing their products and say, okay, can I market my product? And when you're picking books on marketing your product, look for the industry that you're in and not an industry that you're not in. But we'll talk more about that as we'll go along. Step 4, determine what you can do in the allotted time. That means allot enough time in order to read what you're comfortable with reading. You don't have to read a whole book in a week's time or in 2 or 3 settings. So we're going to talk more about how to go about doing that. And find a way to stay accountable. How do you stay accountable to gaining that self-education knowledge? And in the time that we are not in now with COVID-19, we can really develop a training tool, each of us for ourselves, to how to become successful. So let's go to the next slide as we break down each one of these steps and we dig deep and you take notes. But you can find this on our website. So if you need to play it back, you can also play it back and listen and take a deeper notes. So step 1, determine what you would like to learn. What would you like to learn? Do you need to study to help you grow my knowledge? Where do you feel your weaknesses is in your own education? If I had all the things in the world, what would you study? Why do you believe you need this knowledge? And how many books do you read a month and a year? And what type of books do you read? So let's talk about that. Determine what you like to learn. So you may want to improve speaking. And so you're going to look for books on how do I improve how to speak on a certain topic. Something that you could do is watch some videos on YouTube, and on them they will give you books that you can pick up and read more deep in how to do presentations. And then stand where you say, okay, they want me to stand in front of this mirror every day for 5 minutes and do my presentation. And so repetition makes a difference. Repeating the process makes a difference. That may be one thing you want to learn. The other one may be how to develop funnels for my company. And so just because you try one method, that may not work. And so I encourage people to look at the industries and find someone in your industry that's doing that and duplicate that. Now, are you going to reach that level they did right then? Maybe not. You have to take small steps in order to grow and develop. And also, the other one I think about is self-help books. I think everybody can benefit from self-help books. It helps you in a place of kindness, and it validates your self-worth. It also helps you figure out a lot of self-help book. What is it that you're not doing well? What is it you need to do well? And how can you change? And change is not overnight, but little change is great. And self-help book, I find also reading the Bible daily scriptures is a great place to start. Or you can have your daily devotional. It's a great place to start in the morning. So I'm going to share with you for myself, where do we start? We start for myself is that I usually read 5 to 6 books at one time. And I read them in a month's time. So that's pretty much how I started my month off with. I have certain books that I have decided on to read. So the Bible is always number 1, and my daily read is number 2. The other 3 is a self-help book I would choose for the month. And then I have one that does with my business, when I'm trying to grow or think about different strategies. And then I just do a great read book, something that I'm interested in. And so it just relaxes me to take my mind off of anything that's deep. And so on our next slide, we're going to even encourage you to develop your list in a way that it makes it enjoyable. And so for this month, the month of February coming up, we are going to be reading, and part of my read is Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich and the Law of Success. And so again, it'll be my Bible, my devotional, then my educational as it relates to my company, my industry. Then it's my self-help book. I will decide what I want to read, and then something fun that I will read. And so I would love for you to join me during the month of February to read, Think, and Grow Rich. This will be my 3rd time reading this book. So every time I add new products, new services to my company, I go back to reading this book because it helps me stay focused on where I'm trying to go. And I found the book to help me really advance my understanding, because every time I read it, I find something new about it as it relates to the new product or services that I am launching. And so join us in February, the Think and Grow Rich, the Law of Success. And on our next slide, we're going to move forward in how to engage, learning those strategies, and putting them into order. So, how do you prioritize your list? What do you need to get done to reach your goals in business? So, my logic of how I prioritize my list is I am a book person. I love going to Barnes and Nobles. Yeah, I think Amazon is great, but there's something about being with those books, walking in that store, seeing all of that knowledge around me, being able to tap into it and read and compare and flip the pages, all of that is just like, oh my goodness, look at all this knowledge I can just bring and be self-educated and I could take that. So that's my experience with that. And I do spend a great deal of time in Barnes and Noble purchasing more books than what I should be when I go in there. So Barnes and Noble is a friend. I do order books offline when people recommend them to me. And it's with one particular book, I would just go if a friend or a coworker, partner in a business say, you know what, this is a great book. I read it. I think you will be able to use some strategies with it. Yes, I would purchase that off Amazon. But I would just encourage you, just go and walk around Barnes and Nobles and see all the great learning experiences there, and purchase some books and then invest in that and then prioritize them through months on how you want to read and what's that's important to you. On our next slide, as we continue talking about how to self-educate yourself and the importance of doing that is to determine the time you have each week to dedicate to self-education. Now, for me, my time is between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. I love to get up early. I have a favorite place that I love to be at, and I have a favorite time to do that. The home is quiet, it's peaceful. There's nothing like having a cup of coffee or tea, get into my spot of meditation. I have already need to go ahead on and stretch, meditate, do some little yoga, get myself ready for this day of just self-education for that moment, that morning. And I have a table with all of my books right by my favorite chair that I use. And I have an order and how I do that. So I have the time. I have it every week, every day that I dedicate to self-education. And I can tell you, I am a better person because I invested in myself. I can say that when after I finish, I feel great. It starts my day. So with step 3, we can say the time is how you determine where the time that you have no distractions, be around a place where there's not people ringing, coming to the door, ringing your doorbell, knocking on your door. If you're home, it's like putting a sign out on the door. This is self-education time. And I'll be out within an hour. Whatever you need to do to make it right. And some of us, like I said, like stuff on Audible and like to listen to it. And so that'll be the time that you sit down for yourself. And on our next slide, we're going to talk about not only the time, we're going to have a thing about how do you determine the allotted time as it relates to whether it's 1 hour, 2 hours, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Now, if you're a morning person, that may work for you. If you're an afternoon person, but it has to be a time where your mind is clear and free. And time is so precious. That is one thing we cannot get back is time. We cannot get back time. Once it's gone, it's over. So be committed to that time. Be committed that whatever's going on, put it on your calendar. Change your whole calendar around developing your self-education, developing you. That is the most important part of developing how you're going to grow your company and the time to relax. With the hustle and the bustle of the world, sometimes we miss that self-care. And the self-care is, I found out through self-education. It's a difference in watching TV than reading in a quiet time in the stillness. And so I want to encourage you to map out some time for yourself and dedicate that to your reading. As we continue to our next slide, we're going to go into step 5, where we are going to talk about accountability and finds a way to be accountable. Now, some of the things I tell folks is sometimes I had a friend, she used an hourglass. She says the hourglass is smooth. She have a spot where she's at. She put her hourglass on, and she says once all of the sand go down, she knows time to start her daily. And then I have another one that believes in using a magnified glass, she said, doing her reading. And I'm like, what do you use a magnified glass? She said, I want to lift the words up out of the page and implant them into myself. I have another one that said she reads on her laptop. And I was like, what? She said, yes, she downloads on her Kindle, her laptop, whatever she needs, and she reads that way. And I would say that's a computer savvy person. She said it's like, I like reading it for that way. And she said, because you can blow it up. She said, I can highlight words into stuff. And I was like, well, that's cool. But I like the hardback book because it gives me the opportunity to highlight, draw lines, rewrite, write all over it. But I found ways to be accountable through having things around me that makes me feel good and holds me to that spot. Because in my area is a big chair, and the chair is so comfortable with a pillow and a blanket. And then I have my nice table that's made out of bamboo, and it has my books on it. And I have my books placed in a certain order. And I also have pens, color pens, pencils, a notebook, just all the things that makes me feel great at that time. And then I have an ottoman that I can put my feet up, I can lay back, and then the light in the room, oh my goodness, it's just like that room just like light up when it's time for me to read. And it's cozy and it's breathtaking in a way. And I can hear stillness, just purity stillness. So when I'm reading the words, I feel them in my heart. I also, they're in my mind, like they implanted when I'm like the words come off. And so if I'm reading about how to do a strategy and someone else have used it, it's like, oh my goodness, I never thought about it that way. Then I could grab my pad and map out what they say and say, oh, now I can see how to put this in my business. It is that aha moment that gives life to the goal that I'm planning in my company that will yield a profit. And then when I'm reading my spiritual stuff, it is a way that I am connecting to God, a way that He's speaking directly to me early in the morning, and that comfort to know that He's there in the presence right with me. That moment warms the inside of my soul, that I just enjoyed that presence of Him, that I know whatever else I read, it is definitely His calling. And then having those self-help books to validate the accountability of How am I taking care of myself? How am I treating other people? How did I learn new skills? I just think that's just a moment of wholeness. And then I get to read something fun that I like, something that has nothing to do with education, has nothing to do, just a good old novel. It could be anything from a mystery. It could be anything from how somebody overcame something. It could be something that's different. And at that time, I'm there with them. I could be with them on their journey. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so exciting. And the great thing about the way I read, I don't have to read a whole chapter. So every book I have, I just read a couple pages. With the Bible, I say, okay, I'm reading this book in the Bible, and I'm only going to read that chapter every day. I'm not going to read 2 or 3 chapters. I said, okay, chapter 1, that's all I'm reading. And so I'm reading the book of Psalms. And so whatever chapter the book of Psalms have, that's all I'm reading. I do my devotional, and I like that. I said, oh, that's good. I read what they have, and then I get something from what they're talking about. Then I move on to my other readings. And I have found out that it sets the tone for a well day, but also it helps me be educated, that I am up on top of how to better serve my community and serve my clients and work on the global market to how I can better serve you on the global market. And so on the next slide, we are going to talk about how Plan to Prosper can serve you on the global market. We are a global market company. We help entrepreneurs, business owners, nonprofit, 9 to 5, startups, if you have an idea, hustlers, faith-based communities grow and thrive. We are all 174 countries available to help you through our educational slides, through information that you may want to send us. We're in all 50 states, ensuring that people have access to education. If you want to succeed, join us on SIBN Network on Roku, where you will find our station, or you can just go visit our website, www.theplantoprospershow.com. You can listen to the videos over and over again. We are here to make a difference in your life. We thank you for joining us today, and we want you to be back and help you grow and thrive your company to the next level. Have a great day.